Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Concrete and Coffee. I'm Cliff, and this is brought to you by Glue Down. Today, I have my host, Tom Bozzano, with Martin Harris Construction out of Las Vegas, right?
Yep.
Awesome, Tom. I appreciate you coming on here short notice.
Hey, not a problem, man.
Yeah. So, is it hot down there?
Just a little.
A little bit?
Yeah.
My plane was trying to land there last week. And we almost had to do a touch and go. Couldn't quite get it to touch the tarmac. So
we've been up in the 110s. Yesterday we finally broke. We're down in the 108. But yeah, it's been living in an oven.
Yeah, I bet. That's not to knock the guys in the field, but boy, it's nice to have an air-conditioned office or an air-conditioned Chevy, huh?
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. Yes. Hey, but you know what? The guys out in the field got the nice tan all the time, so.
That's true. Yeah, they're in shape, too. Like, I got this, travel salesman gut. I'm trying really hard to lose it. It's not happening.
Yeah. That office belly, comes in pretty quick.
It's a real thing, man.
Oh, yes, it is.
Well, you've been around in the tilt-up industry and concrete for how many years now?
Been involved in concrete in one way or another, going on 27 years.
Okay. Now, the way I met Tom, everyone, was I was working for a distributor, and Tom was my Knoxcrete sales rep. And when I wanted to get more into tilt and not just, form release and stuff, he came out and really introduced me to a variety of things in the tilt and kind of help mentor, especially on the chemical end. But you have a bigger background than just the Knoxcrete. What's the skinny on how it started and where it got to today with you?
So just a brief history. So out of high school, I went to trade school to work on cars, because I love cars. So I was doing that for a little bit and it got old real fast. A friend of mine worked for a rebar company here in town, working on all the big casinos and stuff. And at his wedding, I met a guy. It's like, you want to learn rebar, learn how to tie, I'll give you a job. So after work every day, I went to his house and learned how to tie bar. And then I broke in, punking rebar on slab on decks and everything else. And
that's a tough job. Especially in Vegas.
It makes a man out of you real quick.
I know. I don't have enough hair on my chest to do that.
It takes a special breed. That's for dang sure. I met a lot of guys that, when they were in their 60s and 70s and they're walking around and their hands were like this. And I'm like, straighten out your fingers. And they're like, they are. I'm like, I thought to myself, that's probably not where I want to be, when I'm their age. So, things kind of took a slowdown between some casinos getting started, and a friend of mine owned a concrete company. He's like, come work with me. I'm like, okay. So I started as a grunt,
What company was that?
Believe it or not, it was GMS Concrete. Guy's name was Tom Hartman.
Okay.
And he was a concrete guy. I was a rebar guy. And he's like, I'll show you how to be a real man, So it was the big joke of the day. And he was out there. I mean, he had pretty big arms, and he's swinging a 12-pound sledgehammer pounding stakes. And I'm like, hey, do we got anything smaller? But when it came time to, put the rebar in the footings, I'm walking around carrying, 10, 15 bars at a time, and he's carrying 2. And it's like, yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah, there is.
So I just put my nose to the grind and learned everything I could and worked my way up, into foreman, into a superintendent, and then into the office. And that actually just kind of happened by accident. Company I was working for, the estimator quit, went to another company, and matter of fact, you had him on. Aaron Doherty was the superintendent of the company, and he's like, hey, come in the office and help me do some takeoffs. Did that for a long time, and one day he's like, you're the new estimator. I'm like, okay, cool. So I just, I've been learning, learn as I go on it for many a year now.
Okay. And
So
did you progress right into tilt when you're with that company, or was there
I
steps
we
along the way?
I've been touching tilt since rebar. You know, when within rebar, we came out and tied rebar in the panels, and I was interested in it then. You know, how does this work? And walking on the slimy stuff in the panels, and I'm like, why am I? Does it feel like I'm skating out here when I'm carrying this bar? I just don't feel too safe. And it just it progressed. Did a bunch of tilts ups at JD with Aaron, and then went on to another company, Morcon, did a bunch, and Bull Concrete did a bunch, and just cut my teeth doing that stuff. Day at a time.
So that's all down in the greater Vegas area, and then
Yep.
you got the opportunity and chance to go work with the guys at Knoxcrete, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They're in Nebraska, is that right?
Yep. They're based out of Omaha, Nebraska. Great company, great ownership, great bunch of guys. And it was I got a call from a headhunter one day asking, hey, would I be interested? And I'm like, never really thought about it. Don't know a lot about chemicals, but I'd like to learn. So went and talked with them, and they're like, we can teach you the chemical side. It's the building side experience that you have that we need the knowledge of. So it was a mutually beneficial relationship. And I learned a lot about chemicals and chemical compatibility and how things work. And they learned a lot about what we think about out in the field when it goes to, putting these things together, about form work, about reveals, about, patching the slab after we stand panels, and, just that whole process.
Okay.
So it was a great little experience. The big thing that got me is the traveling, all the traveling and the time away from the field, in the field and time away from the family. It's a very hard balancing act, when you cover the whole United States for a company. You're gone, every week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week sometimes, depending on what happens with airlines. You're at their mercy when you're trying to get home. If there's a storm somewhere and your plane gets canceled, you're sitting in an airport all night. So
especially when you're flying out of the Midwest there. North Midwest.
Yeah. It was great. They're a great company. They have a great product. I got to say, I think they make the best.
Hands down.
Best, yeah. I think they make the best bomb breaker, hands down, along with a lot of their sealers. There's a lot of thought put into it, and one of the things that, we always said that, the head chemist there, Mike Lynn, he treats the chemicals like they're his kids. They're his babies. His dad started, was it his dad or I think his dad started the company, and, he was there with them the whole time. And, those things have been in the family for a long time. So they make a very good product. They're very diligent about how they make it. It's a good deal.
So you, like you said, you had to travel a lot. I'm kind of doing the same thing, probably not quite to the extent that you're at, but I got to tell you, especially before COVID, it was 3 weeks out of the month. And the wife at home with my daughter has been take on everything with her professional career too. And that, like this week, as of today, I'm like, oh boy, she's really taken on a lot. That traveling strain really kind of plays a big part at home. And so, you made the decision for the family at that end, not that it was the company thing. It's just, hey, the family end, we got to transition back to Las Vegas, because you moved up to Nebraska and then back to Las Vegas, right?
Yeah. It was. So I got two boys, and they're Italian, and they got the Italian attitude, and their attitudes with dad not being home, they became quite unruly, and it's, I've been off the road for a little over a year now, and I'm still trying to rein that unruliness in. And it's, it's kind of hard, but when dad's not home, 4 weeks out of the month or 3 weeks out of the month, he's only home 8 days, they're kind of used to that. And it's, it's been an adjustment period for all of us. But, the one thing, their grades have gotten better. They're, up until COVID hit. And then, that's a whole different story.
It's a whole different ballpark, man, on that.
Yeah. And, with I've got a 7 and a 12-year-old, and they just, they're right now with COVID, they're cooped up in the house with each other, and they're at each other's throats. It's only people they get to see. And I've got one who's very active in sports and, you know, is used to being on the go and everything. Him sitting at home now, he vibrates. You know, he's ready to go play. He wants to go do sports and wants to be out of the house. And just right now we can't. And, you know, he's having a hard time with it. So it makes things at home stressful, you know. And the nice thing is that I'm home every night and, you know, I can take him out in the backyard and play catch or throw him in the pool or play basketball in the front yard or whatever we got to do to get some of those energies out. And, you know, it's a balancing act, and you got to be able to adapt on your feet with the way things are right now. You know, I think everybody's walking around, you know, kind of looking like this right now, you know.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that you just gotta, you know, you gotta adapt. And it's, you know, a lot of that you gotta do in construction too. You gotta adapt on your feet, you know. You may go home tonight and, you know, there may be a rainstorm that blows through and you have to fix the stuff you got, and you can't stop progressing to go back and fix. You got to be able to fix and keep progressing. So
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of adapting on the fly, you know, in construction.
Yeah, I agree. So since you work for the manufacturer contractor end, manufacturing back to the contractor end, you're the senior estimator over at Martin Harris, right?
Yeah,
Senior concrete estimator.
Yep.
So since you've been at both ends of the spectrum a little bit, has anything kind of carried over, and do you have a different approach, or maybe like either a new appreciation or better understanding?
Yes, there is. So before, you know, you go through a spec book and you'd read it and go, okay, they give me these 7 different manufacturers. You know, you send it out to your supplier, you know, your distribution warehouse, the white cap, the borders, the, you know, whoever, and you get your pricing back. And, you know, as an estimator, we're competitively bidding things. So you're looking for the cheapest price to get in there. After my time at Knoxcrete, I look at things a little differently. I'm not looking for the cheapest price. I'm looking for what's compatible with each market, because you can't put one company's cure down, another company's bomb breaker, and a third company's sealer down. You know, that's like taking all kinds of chemicals, putting them in a bucket and mixing them up and seeing what you got. You know, there's a whole lot of liability there that, you know, creates an issue. You know, one of the things we fight, not fight, but one of the things we, you know, deal with a lot is, you know, there's companies that go out there and get themselves in specs books, you know, and architects and engineers, they just take and generally copy things over, not thinking about the operation of which things go. You know, they tell us it's means and methods. You guys deal with it. Well, means and methods. If you tell us we got to put down a chemical cure down, that chemical cure has got to be compatible with our bomb breaker that goes over the top of it, which has gas needs to be compatible with the densifier if it's a warehouse that goes over the top of it. You know, and they want to change the order of way things go. And, you know, most bomb breakers and densifier go after the same chemicals in the company, in the concrete, same, you know, molecules. You know, if you put one down first, you may not leave enough for the other to do what it's supposed to do. And, you know, sticking a panel, you know, that can be a $50,000-$100,000 hit on a job that, you know, just because of how they want to do things, all gets pushed back on the contractor. You know, so the contractor's really got to understand what he's working with through the steps of the process.
Right. And so for you viewers hearing this, Chad was able to post a video or a picture and or a video on our LinkedIn page and his LinkedIn page, just kind of showing a weird scenario where we saw some stuff on the surface of the slab and some weird cornflake-like material. And Tom was one of the first responders to it, actually, before we even got it posted online. And probably 90% hit it on the head of what we end up determining was the problem with that particular scenario. And it's a big thing that there's stuff just specced in there, and then the contractor's not always familiar with all those products too. I'd like to highlight, and I think I posted something recently too, that guys need to take advantage of working with your manufacturers. I mean, if you're working with a quality manufacturer like Glue Down or Knoxcrete, where guys are willing to come out and take their time like Tom did in the past, be away from their families to make sure that you're getting the best training possible and in-depth knowledge about what's actually happening. you're going to have more success, right?
Oh yes, definitely. And the thing that, again, being a guy with an ego, the one thing I never did before I worked at Knox Creek, I never called the manufacturer's rep and talked them through the process. And the one thing that I learned going to the manufacturer side, if you call and talk to their technical side, they'll freely give you the information. Now they're going to try to steer you towards their products, which, hey, that's what they do. You go to Chevrolet, they're going to tell you, hey, Chevrolet's the best, don't go look at the Fords, stay right here, and it's
Yeah.
the same thing with chemicals, so it's those things, but definitely take the time. You got a project where you have questions about the way things, the sequence of things, call them and ask them, say, hey, look, this is what we got going on. This is the name of the project. They're speccing this out, and a lot of times if there's something out of order or something like that, if you need a letter written or anything, they'll greatly do it. And the gentleman that took over my spot at Knox Creek, Derek Rainey, great guy, knows a lot, and dude, he'll jump in. He'll come out to the job site and sit down and talk with you guys. He'll sit down and talk with an architect or an engineer if he needs to. Those guys do that stuff, and it's a great process. So take advantage of the leads that are out there. They have the ability to make those phone calls and talk to those people.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then kind of what you said earlier too is when you're with Knox Creek and stuff, and it's realizing, when you're trying to make the bids and stuff and how we got to get it as cheap as we can, but make it work. Same thing goes for the adhesives. Guys often are seeing like the first thing that the first brand, I guess, that they know, or that big distributor is just throwing it right there. Oh yeah, this works. They're not even getting trained up on stuff. Just even on the distributor end, there's just, oh yeah, this is what people use. Here you go. You just put it down. And training goes a long ways.
It does. And and taking 10 minutes to call a distributor and have them send their rep out to do that, it's amazing. And glue, when I was out there doing that, I'd tell guys, look, there's two things you don't want to put down too much of. One is bond breaker and the other is glue. No matter what everybody tells you, more bond breaker is not better. More glue is not better. And it's funny. It's, I got, being in the position I was in Knox Creek doing the plastic reveals, I was able to get trained by Glue Down, by 3M, by, all the other glued people out there. And, hands down, when I was doing things, people be like, oh, this is what we're using. It doesn't work. Well, here, try this company, and a lot of times it was switching people from 3M to Glue Down. And, it was, they would be amazed at, what we did. And, Texas, where you guys are based out of Texas, out there, a contractor one time, glue doesn't work for me. You guys can't do it. You can't make it stick. Well, hey, have you tried this? Let's just do a little test piece. Went out there and showed them, learned that you don't want to really show people up in Texas. Showed them, went out there the next day, kicked it, beat it with a hammer, and it wouldn't come up. He got quite mad and asked us to leave his job site.
Tread lightly, right?
Yeah, you gotta tread lightly, and tilt up is a thing where everybody's kind of set in their ways, and they, my dad did it this way, my grandpa did it this way, I'm going to do it this way. It's working. I'm not going to change what's working, but just like what's working is, hey, my grandfather had a horse and carriage, and my dad had a car, with a carburetor. Now I have a car with fuel injection. Things change. It gets a little better. So don't be afraid of the innovation.
That's right. Right. You imagine trying to set, pull braces without hammer drills.
Oh gosh, that would be.
I don't even know what they did before that. You know what I mean? So if a viewer knows and can find some evidence, send it my way, because I'd be interested to see some old photos of what that looked like.
Yes, definitely. I would too.
So you're back in Vegas. I got to ask you, I'm a big foodie myself. Oh, by the way, I'm drinking a Monster energy drink, Rehab, and I throw a caffeine pill in there. And that's what I'm drinking this morning because I'm a little burned out today.
Look, you're better than I am. I'm drinking, I got my Golden Knights cup here, and I'm drinking sweet tea. So, that's my drink. So I'm right there with staying hydrated, but it's got to be on the sweet tea side.
Yeah, If I can make it harder, I probably would. I'm not gonna lie. But
Hey,
since you're in Nebraska and stuff, what steaks are better, Nebraska or casino Las Vegas steaks? Because I've had some good ones in Vegas.
believe it or not, the more towards the Midwest you go, the better the steaks get. And I
So
don't
it's
know why.
fact, huh?
It is fact. I've am traveling the country. You can see the further away going either east or west from the Midwest, the steaks just aren't as good. And why I don't know, but it's just the experience I've had.
That I'm not gonna lie. I got a drive or a trip coming up that way soon, and I'm looking forward. I don't think I've had a steak in the Midwest, so even when I go to like Texas and stuff, I don't think I have steak there. I always have barbecue, and Chad's Mexican and barbecue, buddy. Here you go. I was there last
Yeah.
week, and I tried keeping up with him on how much barbecue he can eat, and he's a little guy, but dude, he can put away some barbecue. I mean, I probably have like 30 pounds on him, and I looked like an amateur out there.
Yeah, the Texas barbecue was very good when I was visiting Texas. And it's funny is the taste changes from you go from Dallas down to Austin, down to San Antonio. It changes, but hey, it's all good. I mean,
It is all good.
yeah, I said when people were stopping and wanting to eat and everything, hey, let's get barbecue. Okay.
Before I forget, is Martin Harris part of the Tilt Up Concrete Association? Are they members?
Yes, we are.
Okay. What's your 2 cents on the virtual event? Are you going to be attending? Shoot it to me straight.
100% will depend on what our workload looks like.
Okay.
If I got a bunch of stuff that bids that week, I won't be attending.
Okay.
If my schedule permits, we'll be attending. But it just depends on, how the schedule plays out and when owners want their bids.
Yeah, that's true. If, let's say, one of your higher up field guys wanted to attend, would that option be open, like for other contractors in position? What do you think about maybe offering that? Not saying that you have to, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
No, it's the TCA puts on a very good event, and their seminars, their teaching seminars are very good. I think it's very educational, and it's a benefit to having your guys attend those. If you're able to and your workload permits to have a guy there to learn about that, I've sat in on a couple Barkley Gable things at the TCA.
Yeah.
And man, that guy is smart, and you need to listen to what he's saying because he's been there and experienced it. And, he probably found the quickest way to fix it. And, those things are really good to listen to.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So for those of you guys who would surprisingly not know, Barclay is with Concrete Strategies out in, I think they're in Missouri, right?
St. Louis. Yeah, they're based
St. Louis, yeah. So Barclay, if you want to be on the show, you just let me know. I'm pretty sure Chad would like to interview you. So, well, awesome, Tom. I really appreciate your time today, man. Thanks for taking it semi-short notice there and balancing out my schedule and your schedule.
Hey, not a problem at all, man. Anything for a friend, and when you're out there doing the same thing I'm trying to do is just progress construction in a way that it's good for everybody. I'm always willing to help out.
That's awesome, man. It's true. You've always been like a good source of knowledge for me to reach out to. So, go ahead.
A while back, you had a couple guys on that, are a good source too. Tim and Paul from Tucker Kirby there in the Carolinas. When I'm having questions about things, I call those guys and talk to them too. When you have those resources, man, don't hesitate to use them.
Yeah, totally, guys. If you hop on our Glue Down page on LinkedIn, they're episode 2. And then earlier you mentioned Aaron Doherty with Frontline, episode 1. Guys, you can reach out to these guys. They're on the show because they want to become a source for everyone else, much like the TCA. We're all community. Yes, we're competitors, but to better the industry, just betters our own lives and our own pockets as well, because we're in it to make money. So
definitely. And it's have fun, make money it should be the proper order.
That's right. Because if you don't like it, if you don't love it, then why the hell are you doing it?
Exactly.
That's why I have glue on my cereal in the morning.
Well, you're better than I am because I'm not putting Bomb Breaker on mine.
That's right. Just a little silica powder, right?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. By the way, one of these is coming your way. And anyone else, if you want to be on the show, let us know. These are only for people on the shows. I put like 4 ice cubes in there, and it stays like icy all day.
Nice.
hot.
Thank you very much.
Most definitely. Thanks again, Tom. I appreciate your time.
Not a problem, man. You have a good one.
You too. We'll see ya.
See ya.